Welcome back, folks. It's another episode of It's About Payroll. Man, before we get into it, what is good, Walt?
Opportunity, another blessing, man, to be here. Just grateful, happy, man, and excited for things to come. Seems like this year is already flying by. We're almost always
Yeah.
already midway through
Q1.
through the year
Mhm.
already. We're about to enter Q2 and everything. So just
Yep.
glad to be here, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Doing real good. This is episode 202, I forgot to say. And yeah, I'm excited. We got so many things going on. And, I keep reading the phrase if you're excited and scared all at the same time, then you're doing the right thing. That's your next move. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be where we're at right now with the show and progress. And the book is out, and gosh, the app. We make some talk a little bit about PayQuest today. And before we get into that, though, we got some, a little bit of it. I think the news is going to be in
Yeah, the topic
our
today. Yeah.
topic. So yeah, there's some new news in there or pay news in there. You wanna get
Yeah,
us
look,
started
so what I was
off?
thinking about when I was trying to curate the notes for this episode was just thinking about everything that was going on. Like I've mentioned this in other shows where I've seen a bunch of HR and payroll professionals posting that they're open for work. So wanted to see what was really
Yeah,
going on.
it's a lot.
Is the market being flooded? Are companies pulling back? Is it a combination of multiple things? Is this a sign of something changing in the profession? um, you know, and just really wanted to find out what was going on. You know what I'm saying? So, some of the key talking points here is that the broader U.S. labor market has softened in early 2026. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that non-farm payroll employment fell by 92,000 in February of this year, while unemployment held around 4%. Sherm described the 2026 labor market as slow hiring, slow quitting, and low movement, which can make it harder for job seekers to land quickly, even without mass layoffs. So, Robert Half noted that the number of people unemployed for 27 weeks or longer was up 33% year over year to 1.9 million compared to the data that was in 2025, which supports the feeling that searchers are taking longer for people to find work.
Yeah. And you said specifically HR and payroll, which kind of leads back to the statistic that we've been talking about for a while. It can be tied to that we're aging out. And I had talked to a colleague recently that said that, they were laid off. And I was like, what? He's very senior, very expert, subject. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, ageism, man, and I was like, man, and I mentioned you in that conversation. I was like, Walt was just, we were just talking about this, how Walt was, he's been seeing a lot of open for works in our field, in our occupations. And it could be tied to that, basically what he's saying. If we're aging out, and then he kind of said ageism, and then when you mentioned it, one of the things I had said was, yeah, because what we said, we talked about how folks, not just like these are senior folks that are getting, and it could be because we got the hefty salaries, you know, we have the experience, and that's where they need to save money is kind of hey, let this guy has been here doing it for 20, 30 years. He's been with us for 5, 10
But because
years.
think about it, like if you can save money by outsourcing your payroll, getting rid of W-2 employees and just paying a lower fee to a processing company that is going to help you stay compliant, is going to help you process efficiently and get your stuff done and get your employees paid, and it saves the company money, especially in this economic climate, then at the end of the day, a lot of these businesses are going to make that business decision, right? And and that's somewhat difficult for somebody like me because I'm definitely heart first, heart led first, and you and I have these conversations between ourselves, and you're always constantly telling me like, well, you gotta think about it from the business standpoint, and and I do, but not as much as you do. You know what I'm saying? So that's something, an area I need to grow in and everything like that. But I can understand that when it comes down to businesses want to stay open. They want to stay in business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They're in business to make money. Even if you're not for profit, you need to generate revenue. You're not in business simply to employ people. And that's where employees get it twisted because, there's a feeling of entitlement. There's a feeling of, they got to do this for me and that. No, they don't have to do anything. And not only is it that they move to, you have mentioned that some companies will outsource. It's not only that, they'll just hire somebody junior, not 30 years in, they're 10 years in and you can pay them a lot less. And not for nothing, 10 years in, if they're good, they're good. They know a lot at that point, and they're not
Yeah,
20,
because
30
you
years
can
in.
teach them, especially if they know the system, right? Like, hey, they may not have the level of
Yeah.
access to,
Or
yeah,
if they know compliance,
yeah, because
whatever
a
it
lot of
is.
times, sometimes there are managers like like ourselves and many others of our associates and peers in the industry who are in the weeds with their team and getting their hands dirty and knee deep in the stuff, right? But there might be somebody else who's more on the manager side who's just managing the processes, managing the people to make sure everything is going
Yeah.
smoothly, and they're more just like
Yep.
as a guide more so, and they're just like, hey, the junior people are the ones below this person are actually doing the work.
One's
You
doing
know
the
what I'm
work.
saying? So we can
Hmm.
transition that knowledge base, give them a little bump, and still save money. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep. Yep.
so look, I
Exactly.
think with these shifts,
Yeah.
HR often feels the labor market shifts first because hiring slowdowns, restructures, the tightening budgets, like we mentioned. So that definitely hits the recruiting side and people teams early. Sherm reported increasingly cautious sentiment from HR leaders heading into 2026 about hiring. Payroll sits in a strange middle ground. It's mission critical, like we were saying, but companies still try to lean out teams, consolidate responsibilities, like we were just
Yep.
saying, and expect fewer people to
Yep.
manage more compliance, more systems, more expectations, right? So, like you always say, do more with less.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You got to run lean. Like one of my mentors in this is that you can't throw bodies at the problem. You know what I mean? And we think right away, oh well, I got a bottleneck and I have an issue and it's a lot of work. I need somebody else. I need to hire somebody else. And it's like, what? Maybe not. How do we solve it without hiring somebody
Yeah, I
else?
think you have to go through
I think,
the process, right, and see if that's actually what you need, or is there some you need to find out a better way to become more efficient with that process, right?
yeah,
So
I think one of the things that like maybe messing leadership up is AI is not really in payroll in a real way yet. Yes, some of us put it this way. I was in a chat on Facebook and just reading the comments and somebody was saying, "Oh, I don't use AI. I'll never use like let me rephrase. Folks ran the scale. Like there were some folks on one side of the scale, like, oh yeah, I use AI, gotta use it. And then the other side was, I'll never use it. And it was like, well, wow, why would you never use it? You have to bring it in because if you don't bring it in, they're gonna find somebody else to bring it in. Right. Especially if if like company wide initiative is to usher in AI and you're on some, I'm not doing it, you're gonna get fired.
I think that segues to this next section, right, that I have highlighted here. You want to go ahead and speak into that
Yeah,
automation and
automate.
AI?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It says automation. Yep, automation is changing how employers think about payroll roles. Long term, BLS projects declines in traditional payroll timekeeping clerk jobs, exactly as I predicted. Even though the actual work is not going away, it is becoming more specialized and system heavy. Yeah, because what all the AI. How can I say the folks that are predicting the future of AI? they'll tell you, or not even that, and even in the articles, it says like if your job is repetitive and monotonous, it's the same. That's it's going to be easily. First of all, it's not even AI. That's an automation opportunity. You know what I mean? Like if you're, so that's exactly right. Traditional payroll, timekeeping, clerk jobs are gonna get not AI away, automated away. Because I still talk to small companies, that small businesses, right, which is really the heart of America, that still do things very manual, spreadsheet, paper. Like, are you kidding me? You just need to, they're free time and attendance systems, literally free time clocks out there that you can use, that you can download a spreadsheet and upload into your payroll system. So there's no excuse for some of the manual things that go on in payroll still, when it's not even, you don't even need AI yet, you need to
That's
automate
true.
it. So yeah, right on with that. So the next one says a payroll org content and recruiter commentary point to stronger demand for professionals with multi-state global compliance and prevailing wage experience. you know it, this still boggles my
What?
mind. I guess because I've always done multi-state, but that was another part of the conversation I saw on a chat. It was saying like, one person was saying, "Oh, multi-state is so difficult," and you just kind of avoid it at all costs. And what I was like, what? It's not difficult. It's not difficult. You just need to know the rules in each state. If you have 50 states, sure, it might be a little challenge.
It definitely can have its challenges, so I can understand that. But it's like I think we're articulating here is that as long as you have a good process in place, good SOPs, good foundation, it can become efficient. You keep your records up to date. You sign up for those notifications from the different agencies on the state level, local,
Yes.
federal, whatever,
Yes.
and you get those notifications and
Yes.
you keep your system updated. You should be okay. Maybe it's the size of the business that may be factoring into it. I don't know.
I think it's unknown. I think it's ignorance. Like, if you've never done multi-state, then yes, you're afraid of multi-state. And then some of the multi-state experienced folks on the chat said it. Like, you can use AI now to help you get the compliance. You tell it to go. Now, what I urge payroll professionals to do is make sure it's bringing you back the source data, the link to the source data, and pressure test what
Got to
you're
scrub the
doing.
data.
Right? I
Yeah.
Every time I do it, yes, trust but verify. Every time I do it, I make sure I'm checking the source data for the accurate
So
information.
let me
So,
ask you a question.
go ahead.
This next statement. I want to know if you agree or disagree, or if you award it in a different way. Payroll professionals are being asked to do enterprise level work with small team resources.
Welcome to the Human Role, your go to podcast where HR and payroll collide with innovation. I'm your host, Tiana Neal, and every month I'm diving deep with industry experts and change makers, bringing you real talk insights, practical tips, and fresh takes you won't hear anywhere else. Whether you're a leader, practitioner, or just curious about the latest HR and payroll trends, I've got you covered. Ready to roll with the best? Tune in for fresh perspectives, actionable tips, and the knowledge you need to roll forward with confidence. Subscribe now and let's transform the way you work.
Could be, yeah. There's some of them. Yeah, some of them are, because that goes back to that argument, not argument, but the how we talk about how it's like one payroll professional for every 2,000 employees headcount, right? Some of them don't really know what the headcounts are, and that's not a one size fits all. That's under certain circumstances. If the circumstances are complicated, if the business processes lack control, if everything's on payroll, things that shouldn't be in payroll are on payroll, then that math is
Exactly.
not going
How
to work.
complex is your setup? Like how many pay frequencies do
Right.
you have? Do you have 10-month contract?
Yep.
Do you have what type of employee structure do you have in your environment? Are your systems fragmented? Do you have so many different layers of systems? You and I worked at a place. You and I had
Text that.
at a
Yep.
place that had one system for a certain group of employees, and
Oh yeah, I
then the
remember that.
rest of
Yeah.
them were on another
Yep.
payroll processing system, right? And it was just like, okay, these
Hmm.
folks go over
Yep.
here. They're entered in multiple locations, so their data and stuff like that or in this system, but we had to upload their records so they all would get the W-2s generated from the same place, right? So it just depends. Like, again, every payroll is not the same. Every setup is not the same. So it looks like some of the discussion points that we talked about here were, was that there's more work but fewer people because of lean teams, compliance pressure,
Yep.
like you were just speaking to. I just mentioned fragmented systems and more teams, even smaller businesses as we get this automation and AI implemented, we're going to see more fragmented systems. We're seeing, I don't know about this part, off cycle, more off cycle payments, exceptions, corrections, and approvals. You think you're seeing more of that?
Yeah.
Or you think you're seeing less of that, but things
Mm.
are becoming more automated and we're implementing AI more?
I'm seeing more of it because systems are allowing for more of that real time payment and expectations. Expectations, just not know, folks, companies not understanding, don't know what right looks like, right? You're a startup and you you're just like, oh well, we got to pay people, keep running them until we're all paid out. It's like, all right, and I mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, I don't think I see any more or less off cycle than I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you know, it's always there. To remember the point that I had mentioned before too, there's a company out there that actually built an off cycle into their regular process. So
That's
like
yeah.
on Thursday, they run on Monday
Yeah.
for Friday, right? But on Thursdays they have a scheduled off cycle day because they know they're gonna miss
To get those
stuff.
corrections in and
You
everything.
know?
What do you feel about this? That that as the payroll landscape changes, payroll pros are expected to be both technicians and strategists.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to be. I think you have to be. I don't think there's a choice anymore because of with AI. You know, I think that's inherent for payroll and for HRIS.
So, look, lastly, before we go into this next part about PayQuest, do you think that burnout, right? Do you think people or payroll pros or even HR pros, you think they're starting to feel burnout from being the last stop before employees feel the impact? Because we have to try to, like I used in the last episode, we have to try to prevent, those errors from slipping through as the safeties in the defense.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I have that noted too. What I was going to ask you too is like, hey, how do you map out the whole like the whole departments? Who's who, right? Who's the quarterback? Who's offense?
It's
Who, right? If you do, that'll be a
Yeah,
separate
so
show. But
I think that you look at offense. I think that is the quarterback CEO. He's the usually CEOs are the face of the team,
okay,
right? The
okay,
quarterbacks are the face of the team,
sure,
right?
okay,
So offensive line, that I think is operations, like how what makes the business go. I'm not saying that payroll and HR don't make the business go. So we may have a couple players that play both sides of the ball, or whatever. So like it's operations and stuff and making sure that everything is good, the business is running properly, you know what I'm saying? And the other officers may be like the running back or those wide receivers and making sure that, everything is in place to make sure that we're good to go. And then payroll and HR are, the linemen, the defensive linemen, the linebackers, making sure that none of those compliance issues come up, and legal, all those people are on that side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? So look, I would love to hear how some leaders,
interesting.
some listeners think about that and how
Yeah,
you would put that. But that's my thought on it. So this is a segue. It's a
it's
segue here
interesting.
into our app. So the economy is definitely, people are feeling everything that's going on with inefficient processes and payroll by teams being lean. And sometimes they can't afford payment requests living in email, spreadsheets, and side conversations. So, can you speak to how PayQuest could help someone in today's climate and future climates?
Hey there, I'm Tim Boris, host of the Working Well podcast, where business strategy meets human sustainability. If you're an executive, a leader, or change maker ready to ditch burnout, build thriving teams, and drive real results, this is your next must listen. Tune in on the Work Defined Network or at timboris.com/podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it helps company. The reason why we designed the app, right? It creates accountability from the managers, from the payment request folks, the manager who are saying, "Hey, payroll, I need you to pay this out to an employee." We're putting those payroll payment requests in, and it creates an audit trail, right? Which was kind of a side thing, like we kind of accidentally were like, "Ooh, audit trail," and auditors would love this. It was really built for the payroll person in mind, right? It was, built for payroll by payroll, because we struggle with the different inputs that drive the payroll process, right? And especially nowadays with all the different types of tools that people let information flow on: Slack, WhatsApp, text, the Teams, Google Chat. There's so many communication, email, everything, iMessage, and there's so many different ways to communicate in addition to traditional words, voice, and leaving a note on your desk, and fax machine. There's people still out there using fax machines, by the way, and that's what PayQuest was designed for, to kind of help mitigate all those inputs, bring it into one place, because there is still a need for this tool that can put exceptions into a batch. Because payroll systems have a solve for it. It's load a spreadsheet, but it's how you get the spread. How am I creating the spreadsheet? Yes, I can load a spreadsheet, but how do I create that spreadsheet without payroll actually having to create it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
trick,
And you have an
right?
updated roster. That's kind of the reason why we wanted the system. Of course, there's going to be
Yes,
a need for system maintenance. As long as your system is maintained and up to date,
absolutely.
you would keep an active roster.
Still, HR
Yeah,
is still a
you
tech
would,
stack. Yeah.
it would be
Yep.
simple. You have those workflows. Everything will be in place with PayQuest. So I think it would cut down on those preventable errors and off cycle issues and stuff like that. It will improve accountability, audit trails,
Yep.
eliminate and reduce like the
Yep.
spreadsheet and email chaos, which can get crazy because how
Yep.
many times in your career, Brian, have you gotten an email for one amount for a bonus, and then they come back, oh, you know what? It actually should be less, or it actually should be more, and
Or
you already,
more. Yep.
already like in your effort to be diligent and be efficient, you would already processed it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, now I either got to pull that back and process another payment
Yep.
or
Or
do an
make
off
it up.
cycle or something, you know what
Yep.
I'm saying, to adjust that. How many times has that
Yep.
happened? Right. And so this way, yeah.
Countless.
So
Yep.
hopefully that will help prevent against that as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely will. Most definitely will. It's just a matter of like how we get out there. We're a great example of the having to bootstrap this, and not having the funding to millions to like push it out and whatnot. And it's like, okay, how in the world? So it's out there, folks. It's ready. It's just like, okay, how do we get this in front of the masses? We're not sales folks. How do we get this in front of the right folks? So yeah, and we're working on that, and kind of enjoying the journey. You know what
Absolutely,
I
bro.
mean? But yeah, I'm excited for it. From a sales perspective, I'm excited that it still has value. There is still a need for this
Yeah.
tool, for this solution for payroll people
It,
and the payroll process.
it
So
will only
yeah,
help
man.
those people, especially as we transform into more of those payroll pilots, like you've been saying for so long over these last couple of months. I think you said that early last year, so it might have been a year.
When
Yeah,
AI first came out. It might
yeah,
be a
you know what
year
I'm
or
saying. So
so.
like, as
Yeah.
we transforming our role into those payroll pilots,
Maybe
a
2 years
system
at this
like
point.
this, like PayQuest, would, in my opinion, and I think you share the same sentiment, it would greatly increase, you know, the proficiency of a payroll person and team using it. You know what I'm saying, and make their job a lot easier. Yep.
Reducing errors.
And look,
Yep. Reduce
and we only
errors,
mentioned like the earning piece of it. We the future, if I can say this here, unless you want to edit it out later,
Of
is to be
course.
able to do
No, of
benefit
course.
adjustments, to do those different things, those
Roadmap.
all those different
Yep.
things, like to have a system where it can all be tracked at, and you can balance those things out. You know what I'm saying? Different type of deductions and stuff.
Deductions,
Yep.
retro,
Yep.
arrears, you know, anything that you can load into the payroll system we should be able to capture it with some type of workflow. And then we're not arguing with internally about who did what,
Yes. And
when,
then
and how. Oh, I sent you this, and then people getting crazy with payroll. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I
are you
know,
kidding me right now?
again, if you want to cut this out, you can. But I know in the future, one of the features a simple feature we wanted to add, to add beyond the reporting, is budget tracking, right? For the bonus, the grants
Yeah,
that certain
why not?
businesses get. You put that in there and say, hey,
Yep,
okay, this is how much budget we have for the quarter,
yep.
for the year, for whatever time period it may be or time frame it may be. You have that in there, and it'll be transparent for whoever has access to see that and monitor that. And like, oh, like, wow, we had this much budget. We have to pay it all out. We have to use these funds. So let's just do this and do that because we still haven't used it all, or whatever. So
Yep. Or we can't go
yeah,
over and
yeah,
we
yeah,
almost
yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah,
Both
yeah. We
ways.
see, we
Yeah.
see, we see. Walt got two $10,000 bonuses, and it was supposed to be $5,000. Like, so what we gonna do, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Or the department as a whole, like you said, because it's like, hey, I'm a manager and I'm running my department. I got 200,000 for the year. I'm at 100,000 already a quarter in. I'm like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? That it's just to your point, it's going to help the managers see their budgets in real time. To the companies
yeah.
that build it out, they have other tools, great. But yeah,
So look.
yeah, plenty of value to add through the tool
So
for sure.
before we close the episode out, let me ask you, bro. Do you feel that employers are undervaluing payroll, especially until something goes wrong?
I think that what I see in real time and in reality is that folks don't know what payroll is. They don't understand the job. They don't understand the
So
complexities, the legalities, the compliance, the
so even if
impact.
I
They
so
don't
even if
understand
I've
it.
been in a business world, or and I have 20 years or 3+ decades under my belt, you're still
Yep.
saying that even me, I could
Hmm.
still, not as a payroll pro, but as just someone in
Not you,
in
but yeah,
corporate America or the corporate world,
operations,
that I still may
marketing.
not
Absolutely. Oh my
understand that,
gosh.
is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you can be payroll adjacent and really not even understand, because if you're not responsible for it, you're not going to take the time to even learn it. Like, it's boring, it's tedious for most folks. Like, I saw somebody post about getting like a taking some ADP classes or whatever, like learning ADP system. And because it looked like they were making a shift from HR to payroll, and they started taking some courses for it, and they were like, you don't really know payroll until you start doing
There
and
you
learning
go.
about payroll. And he's like, it was one thing to be a payroll adjacent, but it's another thing to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what scares people.
So let me ask you this, man. And I think we covered pretty much everything else in here. Two questions for you I have.
Cool.
What skills make payroll professionals who are looking for work right now, what skills make them more marketable? And what should they do to stay 2026 and beyond.
If you're looking to explore fresh perspectives, dive into compensation tech, or just enjoy a lively conversation and debates about the evolving world of total rewards, you're in the right place. Welcome to Totally Rewarding Chats, where we discuss the future of compensation, benefits, talent, and all things HR tech. I'm Sean Luchins, VP of Product Strategy at Salary.com, bringing years of product and development perspective. Joining me is the bow tie wearing, comp tech loving, experienced guru Paul Ryman, founder and managing partner of Novo Insights. Together, we'll be jamming with guests and sharing candid, unfiltered conversations about total reward strategy, compensation technology, talent trends, and anything else we find interesting in the world of HR.
Oh, yeah, a good question. I think education, showing that you have committed to learning the craft and the skill, the occupation. There are multiple certifications out there, classes that you can take that, you can put on your resume that I learned payroll. I'm excited for what we're doing and partnering with Career Learning and iSolved, and we've created the certified payroll technician
Yeah.
for new payroll folks, entry level. Like, you have never done payroll and now you want to get some skills and be marketable. Check out the class. We're going to be teaching you how to do payroll inside of a real payroll system. You're going to be able to log on and process and set up and like be in a system, learning the system. So this is, to my knowledge, there is nothing like this in the world today, or definitely in the US. So, for most payroll folks, it's on the job training. In the UK, they do have apprenticeships, which is awesome. Something that we, need to bring back, because we've had it in the US. We just kind of moved away from it. And then beyond, it's AI. How do you usher in AI to payroll? How will it impact? Just learning. You don't actually have to build and develop something amazing. You just have to understand how the current AI functions and how could it be applicable to payroll, and just
Yes,
start paying
bro.
attention. That's it. And having answers when it comes
And I
up at the
encourage
job. Go
you,
ahead.
if you're afraid of what AI and or automation may bring, don't be. It's just going to accentuate or enhance your career for the good, right? It'll just increase your
Guaranteed.
skill,
Yep.
right? So don't be afraid if there's something, a tool that can help your company save money, or help the bottom line. Your business, believe it or not, is going to greatly appreciate you helping them save some zeros or some numbers on the bottom line of what
Right.
their payroll expense is, right?
That's it.
So if you can save your company money, you're winning,
That's right.
right? And so don't be afraid to call
Yep.
those things out, and don't try to block those things from coming in, because if you do, I think if somebody hears it from somebody else, your business owner or your boss hears it from somebody else, and then they come to you like, "Hey, did you know about this? Why don't we
How do we
why
do this?
why
Yep.
haven't we done this yet?" We're missing out on saving coins,
Mhm.
because again, like we said
That's right.
earlier in the episode, businesses are in business to stay in business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
pretty
all right,
much.
man. It's a great
Yep.
episode. Do you have any parting words to
Yes,
give to the
sir.
folks listening? Any words of wisdom?
Subscribe, share, like. The book is out there on Amazon. If you know any new grads that are looking for a career path, share it with them. It's about payroll. Look out, that same folks, look out for the course. We'll be sharing links and marketing that soon. Check out the page, go to LinkedIn. We're heavy on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's just, keep tell a friend to tell a friend.
Love you.
Yeah, we love you,
Peace.
folks.